May have a hot take for you, and please don't disconnect in case if this is. But lead scoring is still an important foundational piece of your go to market operations framework. There, I said it. I think lead scoring does have a good use. I also think that it's been abused in the past or misused in the past. At CS2, we help our clients really refine what a lead scoring process can look like. And we do it in a way that allows you to make decisions around the buyers that are within accounts within your systems. We want to make sure that we are highlighting people who look like the right buyers based upon demographic or firmographic information. We also want to highlight who is the most engaged with your sales and marketing processes, where you can measure engagement through your marketing automation platform or perhaps a third party intent provider. I want to walk you through how to set this up in both HubSpot and Marketo to get you a very well refined lead scoring process. But before we go about doing that, let's take an opportunity to step back and look at this from a strategic vantage. Let's really understand how CS2 recommends building out a lead scoring process with all of our clients. So that way, when we dive in a future video on setting this up within those marketing automation tools, you have a firm understanding of why we're doing what we're doing the way that we're doing it. And we also hope that this video is going to help equip you with the right talk track as you work with your business stakeholders to implement a critical change in your scoring process. So, without further ado, let's dive in. I'm Xander Broffel, Senior Director of Marketing Operations here at CS2. If you don't know CS2, we are a go-to-market operations agency who help B2B SaaS software companies go to market more effectively and efficiently through our go-to-market operations framework and reporting structures. So a key part of this process is to really make sure that you have a good process to deliver your sales team sales ready leads. And there's many ways to go about doing that. And we support even a few in our foundation that we're going to talk through today. So the first thing that I want to discuss is lead scoring and why is it still important? Right? This is something that is not new. It has existed for a very long time. And I think that there's a lot of people with mixed emotions when it comes to lead scoring. But at the end of the day, it is really important to help educate your sales team and help highlight who within an account or within your market is going to be a better person to prioritize over another, because it can be very overwhelming. And this is how we get into tactics that are spray and pray, where we are just blasting emails out to the entire database without really focusing on those accounts that might be the most effective at closing business. At CS2, we have a model where we measure both demographic grade and behavior grade in a matrix model. And so what you can see here on the screen is a typical matrix model that we might show. You can see this is an MQL, right? A marketing qualified lead. We typically call this status and stage sales ready because there's many motions that you can support. But when you are talking about inbound lead scoring, these are truly leads that are coming in from the marketing team. And this is going to be scored in a few different ways. First, we want to take a demographic score using job title, industry. Perhaps we're utilizing some intent data that we're getting from 6 Sense or Demandbase or another provider. Maybe what we're doing is we're looking at technographic data that we might be able to capture from HG Insights or Zoom Info. Maybe what we're doing is we are finding those accounts within our ICP that we want to help the team prioritize, along with characteristics of the people within those accounts that we want to prioritize first. If you just set up a demographic scoring process, you would be able to be much more effective than organizations that don't and require their sales team to go out and actually find people based upon their titles and based upon their industries, rather than giving them a score or a grade. At CS2, we recommend that grade be something from an A to an E. A is going to be your highest quality people, And that is where you might be taking in job titles that are enriched from other data providers. Perhaps there's other characteristics that are important, like location. Maybe there's some cities that you are prioritizing from field events that you want to prioritize those people. You can build in your scoring model without any engagement that you might find from the people. Now, within a lot of our clients, before, new customers that we get and a part of our onboarding process, we might do an audit. And oftentimes what we'll see is that a scoring model is just a single data value. It's a number field. And it might be, if anybody's over 50 points, they become an MQL. You don't really know why. You don't know what went into that scoring process. Some instances, they may have become 50 simply because of their demographic traits. At other times, they might be a plethora of people who came to a trade show, and just because they went to your event and signed into your booth, all of them became an MQL. When in reality, that's not necessarily the way that you want to prioritize your pool of leads to your sales team. So this demographic grade becomes really an effective tool to help prioritize within a pool of people or within a pool of people within a specific account. So when we start to take a look at the different types of scoring, I've already talked to you about the demographic and firmographic. When it comes to behavior, there's a few different areas that we can prioritize. Behavior one is going to be what we would call a hand raiser or maybe an accelerator. These are your hot leads. These are the people that are specifically asking to be contacted by your business, either through the website where maybe you have a contact us form or a demo form, or you might have a process in place where if they come to the booth and they say, yes, I'm really interested, please have somebody contact me. In that case, you might want to flag those folks in those face-to-face engagements. These people are hot and they have apps to be followed up with. On the flip side, you might have behavioral traits. And so these are things that we might be able to see in our marketing automation tool, where they are doing first party activities with you. They're coming out to your website and they're filling out forms, or they're going to those field events, or they're registering for webinars, or they're doing external third party activities that you might have paid email or content syndication or something to that effect. So these behavioral signals you want to be able to score. So in the scoring methodology, we have a few different ways that we categorize this. We categorize accelerators and hand raisers differently than behavior scores. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, we have a status at CS2 that we recommend called sales ready. And in that, we also have a field that we call sales ready type. With sales ready type, you can specify this is a hand raiser versus this is a behavior score, or this is a hot lead or a warm lead, or a P1 or a P2. At the end of the day, you want to be able to differentiate those two and measure those two differently, because your conversion rates for your hand raisers are going to obviously be more efficient and effective going through the rest of your funnel than a behavior score person is going to be. Now, you may choose not to mark these people as an MQL or a sales ready person who just bubble up as a behavior score. That's okay. At the end of the day, as long as the marketing team is aligned to driving quality pipeline, how you bubble up these insights to the sales team is up to you. But we've found a lot of success having a lead scoring process in place where we can actually say your behavior score is going to be ranked from 1 all the way down to 5. And 1 is going to be the hottest people, with the exception of maybe a hand raiser, but they're doing a lot of activity with you. And over time, that activity score is rising and raising and raising. On the flip side, you can have somebody who's just inserted into the database. Maybe it's a cold list upload coming in from ZoomInfo. Not huge fans of this, but we know that there are processes in place that you might need to just bring in people that are completely cold for outbound prospecting. We want to make sure that those are identified as low engaged folks. So in that case, they might be identified as a 5. And then as your scoring model is built out, you're going to raise that score, and then that grade is going to increase. So That is your behavioral and your accelerator or your hand raisers. The fourth is intent and predictive. This is obviously more popular than it's ever been, and really important to be able to include in your process. You don't want to be just limited to the people that you can identify within an organization. So sometimes what we will do is we will set this up as a separate grade and a separate score. Or what we can do is we can also insert that into sort of your firmographic settings, because within that entire account, you are seeing an increased level of activity. So you want all of the people within that account to maybe rise up. And maybe they have to do a little bit less first party data because you have that third party intent data layered on top of it. So we'll talk about what that looks like with this matrix here in just a moment. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are capturing both behavior traits as well as demographic traits to make it as easy as possible for your sales team to prioritize the right way. So let's just take a look at that behavior score for a second. So what we want to make sure is that we have a behavior score that is a numeric value along with a demographic value. I like A through E. We have here in this example A through D. This can be flexible to your business. But what we can see is that in the green, these are the people that if they became a B2, for example, they would get flipped over the threshold for sales ready or MQL if you're choosing to score and drive a funnel based upon that behavior score. Whereas maybe if you are identified as a D or a C, we're going to want to make sure that you have to do a lot more activity before you're going to be brought over to the sales team. What this allows your sales team to do is be more efficient with the quality leads that the marketing team is sharing. It also builds a lot more trust because you're not just sending over 80 people who came to an event. Instead, you might be sending over 45 people who meet the right ICP criteria and the right buying team criteria that you've set and agreed to with the sales team. That is what we are going to see here. When somebody gets sent back to marketing, like maybe you have a recycle status or a nurture status, at that point, we also want to make sure that we have the right processes in place to reset that behavior score. So that way, 2 days later, we don't have a salesperson getting somebody back after they just recycled them out. We're trying to build up trust between the BDR team as well as the marketing team on what is a quality lead. So that way we can have more efficient and higher velocity funnels going from sales ready to pipeline opportunity to closed one. If we're just filling up the bucket with a bunch of names and we don't have the right information and they don't align to the right business and they're in countries that don't matter, we're just getting in the sales team's way. So by setting up the right scoring model in place, you're going to help a great deal. Before we end this conversation, I did want to just show you what we walk our clients through from an MQL or a sales ready simulator. You can see over here on the left, we have different behavior scores. And so when you're working with your teams, it's important that you're identifying what are the types of activities that we want to score on. And we want to be able to give those different activities different scores. And so that's what we're seeing here is we can show what the activity is or what your campaign member status might be within that activity, and then what their associated score is going to be. Over here, we have our demographic grades. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do demographic grades. You could say, I want to do this on job title. I want to measure this against industry. I want to do it against technographics, and then I can give a numeric value to all of those. The approach that I like to take with clients and that we take often with clients will be just having a conversation. Bring in stakeholders from your sales team. Bring in stakeholders from your digital team. Bring in stakeholders from your events team, right? From your SDR team or your BDR team, and bring everybody together and really get aligned on what does the best of the best person look like. If you had somebody who came in front of our booth and they just said hi and we scanned their badge, but you still want to get in front of that person, what does that person look like? Are they a CTO at a high-tech company in the United States? If so, that is what we are going to start to define our A demographic grades as. versus an individual contributor analyst in a non-aligned industry. Maybe you want those folks either showing up as a D or maybe a C. Maybe there's an analyst in a really highly qualified industry. So they're still important and you want to give them maybe a little bit more of a lift. And at that point, we might say that that person is identified as a C. Or you might have these categories that you just want to say that they're junk, that they're not people that you want to work with. Maybe it's countries that you don't do business with. Maybe it's departments that you don't do business with. Maybe you're a chat tool that's really well aligned to the sales and marketing industry, but not as well aligned to support. So you get a lot of people coming in from support, but it's not really your jam. As a result, you might actually junk those folks out. So that way your sales team isn't working them. Then, of course, you have your straight up junk data, which is going to be Mickey Mouse and people slamming keyboards and putting in a bunch of junk data. What is great about this is now we are setting up an agreed upon definition that we can create in our marketing automation platforms to ensure that the best people within your organization have to do the least amount of activity versus the lowest quality people in the database who have to do a lot of activity. The one thing that I did want to mention is that we had those hand raisers, right? The hand raisers don't necessarily align to the MQL matrix. You can choose to do that. But quite frankly, if somebody's raising their hand and saying that they're interested, either there should be an automated approach to let them know that nobody's going to be reaching out, or you have a process in place that says, if there's a hand raiser, let's get them to the salesperson. In this case, we might say that line 12, web form, contact us, we want to mark that at 100. That way we know that they're always going to hit that highest behavior grade. Maybe in our sales ready automation, we also flag that separately to make sure that those folks are always making it over to the sales team. So that's kind of our one exception here. What we can see down here at the behavior grade is we want to show the highest engagement as well as the lowest engagement. And so when I'm building this out in a future video with HubSpot and Marketo, I just want to let you know that we're going to be kind of using some of these levers to make sure that the automation is stood up in the environment. There's a couple of different ways that you can modify this. So what I like to do is I first walk clients through what are the things that we want to measure? What are the things that are important to measure? In our mind, it is significant activity. It's not just going to the website. You might capture that in some of your intent data, but what would it take to flip somebody over to become sales ready? I've seen instances where email opens got 1 point, and then there's a security tool that opened every single email over the course of 3 months that your business has sent to them, and they became an MQL because all that they did was open an email. I don't really recommend that. I'd much rather there be some sort of activity that the buyer or the other person within the organization has actually done to signify that they would become sales ready. So that's why you see here, they attended an event or they filled out a form or they took some significant activity. Now, to modify this, what we can do is we can modify the scores or we can modify the behavior grades, and that can help to align what behavior grade somebody goes into. To set the right behavior grade, you are going to want to be able to modify your behavior score or your behavior score thresholds. So that's what we can do here. We can change our behavior scoring on a line by line basis as you work with your stakeholders, really understanding that, this is what we're going to want to have increased or decreased. And usually what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build this toward their propensity to buy or to open an opportunity. So, somebody who's going to an event and they are just coming to the booth to get whatever it is that you're giving out. Maybe they're a swag bandit or, maybe they're really interested. Well, those are two people that are doing something completely different. So break those things out and you can get a lot more granular with your scoring process. So you can change that on a score by score basis. You do not have to stick with these, change these to your heart's content. We change this for all of our clients when we're working through the workbook. And then you can also change the threshold. So right now we have it set to 25, 50, 75, 90, but let's say that you wanted to modify everything where 50 was the maximum. And so you might go 50, 40, 30, 20. Right. And now you can see right away that this becomes a D1. And so we're populated up here at a D1. And as you modify that out, you can see that we did this again. Move that back to the 90, 75, 50, 25, and now we see that we are a D3. And when you're talking about this with your sales team, you're not worried about what the numerical value is. It doesn't really matter that their score is a 75 or a 78. What's really important is that you're giving them something directional that's easy to digest. And so here they have two different fields that they can set up all of their list views against. Let me sort my people on my accounts based upon their demographic grade. So show me only my A's and B's within this account, or show me only the people that are most engaged within this account. You can now prioritize that. So if you get a qualified account, maybe you have an account scoring model, you want to help direct your team to find the right people within that account, you can do that by both demographic scores or demographic grades as well as behavior grades. And you can help your team really digest who is taking activity or who is qualified within that account. It's a lot of information on a scoring model that you may have used before, or this may be the first time that you're looking at a matrix scoring model. Would love to know. Sound off in the comments below. Is this something that you're used to? Do you have any recommendations on how to go about making this even better? We found that it works out really well. It's easy to digest. It's easy to troubleshoot because we're going to build this out in HubSpot or in Marketo and put it right into our order of operations process. So when somebody actually comes in and they attend an on-demand webinar, they're going to get the right score. They're going to get the right demographic score after they've been normalized. And all of that's going to take place before they ever get shipped off into your CRM for the sales team to follow up with. So it's a really great solution here. Would love to know more. If you like today's episode, please give us a like, share this with a colleague, share this with the team. If this is a project that you need to get prioritized and on the roadmap, let's take a look at this from a strategic view before we just jump in and start modifying numbers here and there. Let's really see, do we have the right foundation in place to be as effective as possible? I'm Xander Broffel. You've been listening to the CS2's YouTube series. We've been putting out a bunch of really great content. We're getting a lot of really great responses from people, great comments as well. So take a look. Are you trying to solve problems with lead sourcing? Is your order of operations out of control? We have a lot of videos that are currently available to help you get through that. We have more videos on the way. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.